The worst thing that ever happened to me was watch a 10-year-old boy full of life never get to realize his full potential. I met Luke Bodden when he was 6 years old, and I was just a 17-year-old snot-nosed high school kid. And his younger sister, Taryn, came up to me and said, "Hey, my little brother really wants to meet you and wants to play basketball with you." And I said, "Sure, of course." I mean, who am I to say no to her when, according to her, her little brother was my biggest fan? But then she said something to me that I'll never forget. She said, "No, my little brother, he has sickle cell anemia, and he's going in for a bone marrow transplant. And he told me that the last thing that he wants to do is meet you and play basketball with you before he does that." And really, since that moment, Luke and I have been best friends ever since. And he's been someone that I can truly call a friend, a real friend. So then he went into his year of isolation at CHLA, Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. And I told myself I would never lose touch with him. I would always make the effort to stay in his life. So I would go and see him at the hospital. But the worst part about some of those visits were I couldn't even be with him, really. I couldn't get through the physical barrier that separated us, which was a huge pane of glass, because he couldn't leave his hospital bed, really. During that entire year, the only people that could see him were his doctors and nurses. So when I would go to the hospital, and I remember one visit specifically, when I went to go see him with his father, Matt, and he told me to look above his bed. So I looked over there, and above his bed there was a picture of me and a picture of Matt Kemp. And I laughed, and I was just so taken aback by that and honored and, shocked. And then Matt, Luke's father, looked at me and said, "This is how my son thinks of you. He doesn't think of you as some high school basketball player. He thinks of you as a superstar." And as tears began to well in my eyes, I looked at Luke and he looked at me, and I could see that he was about to start crying too. And he slowly walked up to the glass window that separated us. And although there was about a foot of glass between Luke and I, he put his little hand up against the glass, and I put mine up. And I never felt closer to someone in my entire life. Words weren't even necessary at that point. I knew exactly what he was thinking, and he knew exactly what I was thinking, and he was terrified. But he knew that I was there for him, and he knew that I would do anything I could to just break through that glass and give him a big hug. But once he was done, and his bone marrow transplant was totally successful, and he got out of the hospital, we started to hang out all the time. And he would come to all my basketball games at UCSB, and we would do all sorts of stuff together, from eating pizza on his birthday to just hanging out. And those are some of the best memories I have with Luke, but also just some of the best memories I've ever had in my whole life. But one thing Luke always told me that sticks with me still is that even through some of his toughest times, he used to always tell me, "Jay, I wish I could just have a bad day." And I remember saying, "What do you mean, Luke, a bad day? Like, you want good days, man." He said, "No, I would do anything to have your worst day." And what he meant by that was, it's sad that Luke lost his life at such a young age, and he will never get to fall in love or have kids or graduate from college. But to him, it's sad that he never got to fall down and get back up or have the chance to fight for what he believed in, like all of us do. So that message is something I've always taken with me, and is what makes Luke strong always, was the fact that he just wanted the chance to fight. So in summation, we all have a Luke in our lives, whether we know it or not. And I promise you that this is true for each and every one of you watching this. So be grateful that you're able to fight for the things that you want to, because Luke didn't get that luxury. And I know that I will always be Luke strong for the rest of my life because of that.